New CEO, by the way, at Merck, important to point out. We'll do the Faber report now as well and talk about this Acceleron deal. We can also get back to molnupiravir. But the Acceleron deal is one we'd anticipated. Of course, remember, Bloomberg reported the price but didn't have the buyer. Then the Journal reported the buyer but didn't have the price. Anyway, they both got it right eventually because it was 180. And Merck, of course, is buying Acceleron. It's interesting, though, the deal itself. And I want to get into a couple of things here. As you watch those shares retreating a bit because there had been perhaps some anticipation that it would be even above $180. We're talking about $11.5 billion. And what, Sotatercept is the... I'm not even going to try. For pulmonary arterial hypertension is the key drug here. That other drug you're looking at, that actually the royalties for which Bristol Myers has, it was a Celgene partnership from back. But remember, Bristol Myers bought Celgene. But the Sotatercept is actually the key drug here. And that came back to Acceleron in 2017 from Celgene. They essentially got the drug back. Celgene didn't want to develop it at that point. And they have. And it was in early 2020 when we got phase 2 data from that. And you can see, if you look at a chart of the stock, that the stock did move up at that point pretty dramatically. But we're still waiting on phase 3. And that's an important component here and one that's actually worth mentioning. This is the largest price ever paid for a company without what we would call pivotal phase 3 data, that $11.5 billion. Merck's taking a risk here. Now, is it a big risk? Well, the phase 2 data was very strong, but nonetheless, the pivotal phase 3 data, they're just really starting those trials. They're not going to actually get the answer to those trials till the end of next year. And the expectation is that you would not see a drug on the market until, let's call it 2023, and that's being pretty aggressive. So there is risk here for Merck. There's no doubt about it, and given the $11.5 billion. Now, there is potential multi-billion-dollar market for this drug. It would compete against the likes of what J&J actually bought when they spent, $30 billion to buy Actelion for treating the same PAH, the same basic disease. Now, there is also a hope over time, of course. You broaden usage. Other areas of hypertension become into play, and sales, therefore, even accelerate beyond what they might be for PAH. So take a look at Merck shares responding quite positively. But interesting to note, 400 employees. We talk so often about technology companies and their ability to obviously create a great deal of wealth. Well, this is part of tech in a way, isn't it? 400 employees, $11.5 billion. Not quite Pharmaceutical, which Gilead bought years ago for, $9-10 billion, and only had about 90 employees. But it gives you a sense here in terms of the intellectual firepower at these companies and what you're paying for, really. And what Merck is paying for, and it's an interesting move on their part. It's not the huge deal, but it's an important deal under new management. Remember, new CEO, new head of research at the company. And it will, they hope, diversify them away from the likes of Keytruda, right, which is their key cancer drug, 40% of sales, almost, I think, from that one drug. It's going to come off patent. Not for years, but it will come off patent over some period of time. And so it is an important move that Merck is made here, particularly given they're sort of known as, the high science pharmaceutical company, the kind of typically have had, if it's not invented here, we're not interested in it. A bit of a move away from that. First statement, as I said, of this new team at Merck. And guys, back to molnupiravir, which we've talked a great deal about here for, frankly, 18 months now. They're getting closer to that oral antiviral that you would take if you actually get exposed and or show early symptoms of COVID, and that would essentially knock down the virus very quickly. Take a listen to the CEO.
The primary completion date for our studies is the beginning of November. We do have potentially the opportunity for an interim look at the data before that, and with that, then the potential for potentially looking at an emergency use authorization before the end of the year.
There it is, Carl. We've been talking about this for a long time, so maybe they get that emergency use by the end of the year. It will be important. There was a period in time where we thought it actually would be on the market prior to vaccines, and it'd be so important. Then it appeared, well, maybe it won't be as important. But of course, with the Delta variant and with the possibility of unfortunately, other variants as well, this attacks them all. This doesn't affect the spike protein, so it has effect against all potential variants.
Yeah. I did like how Gottlieb's language has gotten stronger. I think he yesterday said there's no question we are going to get a therapeutic. You got Moderna creating a new campus to do more mRNA. And by the way, the reproductive rate is below 1 in 47 states and the District of Columbia, which is exactly what you'd want to see going into the fall. Well, you'll hope it sticks. Still.